JDs and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Pokemon Fire Red Leaf Green Speedrun Letter Challenge. I'm your host Zeej, and today we're going to be looking at how quickly Pokemon with the letter K as the starting letter of their name can beat the entire game. So first things first, we're going to start with our naming convention. Our name this time is going to be King because of course we on our King type time for this run. You know, over the course of these past however many runs, I think it's 10 runs now? I think I've gotten a lot better at the game, which makes a lot of sense. Which is another way to say that I think our base average time for even just running around to different spots and understanding what moves we want, what typing we like, what moves we can't use. Of course, I did this research a little bit prior to each of these other runs, but I had to look at it more frequently, have it more readily available, and kind of lean on it a little bit harder, especially when we get later in the game. Whereas right now I'm kind of understanding, okay, we can skip this section, we could do this. This person's not going to have as many stats, so we're going to have to supplement here and there what we can do, what we can't do, what strings we can pull. Just to further cement this point, I do play on speed up mode, so every second, minute that I'm kind of sitting or I don't get to restart at the proper time, so I'm not idle while I double check something. Even just being stalled against a wall could end up costing me minute here, minute there, and overall that's why the times are always so inflated, because I play on speed up. I don't really have the time dedication available to me to run these on 1x speed and get a true perfect amount of time for a speed run for these letters. So unfortunately that's the case, but gotta make do with what we got. And as long as it's consistent on each run, then these are comparable data sets, and it would make sense to still compare them. It would be the same as doing it on 1x speed versus 5x speed. It's just that it's scaled to a different minimum and a different maximum, because a minimum time, theoretically doing everything perfect on a 5x speed run could be something like 10 hours instead of 2 hours for the world record. Enough of this logistics BS. Where's the grub? Krabby only knows one damaging move to start the game. That is Bubble. Now, thinking logistically, Krabby is a water type. Bubble is a water type move. Bubble is good against Brock. This is going to be simple. Nobody thinks about Viridian Forest and how bad Bubble actually is, and how low in special attack Krabby is. So, moving on from that, setting the stage, Bubble sucks, and Krabby is not good until we get to Brock, because we can't kill any of the Weedles, we can't kill any of the Caterpies, Metapods and Kakunas take forever, so we gotta actually level up before we even get into these fights. Otherwise we can't beat the level 9 Weedle and quickly get through Gym 1. So I say all this, where does Krabby excel? Or are we gonna have to dump him for a Pokemon later, because there's no place that he excels? You got a big Krab with 2 big Krab Claw. Well, Krabby excels in attack. Believe it or not, Kingler's base stat for attack is tied for second place among every single Pokemon in the generation at 130. The only Pokemon with more attack is Dragonite. Unfortunately, because there's no physical special split yet, because we're not in Gen 4, we're only in Gen 3, water and water type moves are all special by default. So we will not be able to utilize that attack stat with our stat water type moves. What we're going to do instead is have to utilize something like a normal type move. And one great normal type move that we get relatively early, I think it's like level 12 if I'm not mistaken, is Vice Grip. Vice Grip, for being this early in the game, is actually pretty good because it has reasonable power and pretty good accuracy. With a very high attack stat, we can manage to hopefully get through things and threats like Misty and Surge quickly. Now that our Krab got the proper intro to this run, let's focus on something that we named him, K. Rowling. I looked up K authors as the naming convention here, and it came up with J.K. Rowling as a K author. I don't know if that's viable, but I kind of went with it because I don't really have a reason to not accept it. So I started with K. Rowling. I mean, Harry Potter is pretty relevant, I'm not gonna lie. So I'm gonna give her a pass here. Moving on to the rules of the run. Rule number 1, we can only use Pokemon with names starting of the challenge letter, that being letter K. Rule number 2, we can only use rare candies to level up Pokemon to the current gym's ace level or until they meet the naming convention. Again, I kind of use this pretty consistently for this rule as an example, but Ekans to Arbok, I would be allowed to level up Ekans because we don't want to use him in the A challenge run, but we do want to use Arbok. So instead of going through that grinding and keeping it kind of in the spirit of the run, we're going to use rare candies for that point. Rule number 3, I'm not allowed to sell any items other than gold only items, i.e. nuggets, stardust, etc. Rule number 4, I have to catch a Pokemon from each evolution line in the challenge. Now, why would I say that? Why not just every Pokemon? Because in a speedrun, we want to go fast. In a completion run, we would want to not care about time and just get everything. So because this is a try and catch K Pokemon and use them in a speedrun, there's a line in there, fine line. So I think in spirit of the run, we catch one Pokemon from each evolution line in the challenge instead of mindlessly grind up to get those extra Pokemon. Rule number 5, there's no items in battle and we play on set mode. And then number 6 is just we're not going to save in between Elite 4 members. So we can do it kind of as a true run to see if we can make it through all in one shot. Alright, moving on from the rules, we end up fighting our next Metapod / Kakuna. And again, we have just been focusing on solely Kakunas and Metapods because the likelihood of us dying to Caterpie or Weedle is extremely high. Now, finally that we are level 7, I think it's time to do our first shot at this level 9 Weedle, because we have 50-50 shot between him using Poison Sting and String Shot. I'm essentially already guaranteeing the poison because there it is. We always get poisoned. I think Poison Sting has a 50-50 chance of poisoning, at least it feels like that. And we actually die on our way to the next Poke Center, so that's really cool. We have to go all the way back and try to make it through the forest once more. On our way through, we see a Metapod, and we actually grow to level 8, and now we just skip ahead to, well, the trainer before Brock, not Brock yet, to see how we're going to do. So our Bubble did really well against Geodude, it's 4x effective. Sandshrew is taking maybe a 5-shot here, using a lot of sand attacks, so I'm hoping we can get this off, and we can. Okay, so it looks like Brock is going to be set up real nice, 4x effective, and won't be able to kill us because I think we're also going to be slower than Onix, which means he's not going to use Rock Tomb or have a very high aversion to using Rock Tomb at least. Yeah, so we're going to 2-shot Geodude and he misses his tackle, so we're coming out clean. Onix, I don't even know, 3-shot looks like? Yep, it's a 2-shot if you crit, I'll tell you that right off the bat. And from here, we're going to actually go back to the woods now that we have our first gym badge. So we're going back to the woods, and that's because we need to catch a Kakuna. If nobody realized, Kakuna starts with the letter K, so he's going to be on the team. And it looks like Zeege is having a Zeege-type RNG battle right here. I've seen a lot of people catch Kakunas in less than 2 balls. You know, you get 1 typically, maybe 2. But for some reason, I'm throwing 5, 6, yada yada yada. And his name ends up being Kafka or something along those lines. Something about a dude who wrote a story about a bug. We also pick up the Dome Fossil because, well, I think we all know why we pick up the Dome Fossil. After that, in Mount Moon, we just run around to go either fight Misty or fight our rival. And I think the best move for us would be trying to fight the rival. Turns out that the rival is pretty strong. Even though we do have Vice Grip, it was not enough. Now, our backup plan was to fight Misty. So, once we lose to the rival, we're going to go fight Misty. Fighting Misty is going to be pretty straightforward. We're just going to try and Vice Grip and hope for the best, really. Hope we don't get confused. So Staryu hardens once and then uses Water Pulse. We don't get confused, but we do some pretty good damage on Star. Okay, Star me. Okay, God, I'll sit down. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to come at you like that. Needless to say, we got spanked there. To try and avoid that fate once more with Misty, we actually circle back to the rival and kind of just hope for the best. And in this case, we crit Vice Grip on Bulbasaur. That is perfect, because that means we can get through, do the entire top section of Cerulean, and then come back down and fight Misty at about 224 in-game time. So we end up killing Staryu, which is great. Learn Stomp, which is an even better version of Vice Grip. It's more power and it has a chance to flinch. and then we can break through confusion after Starmie confuses us with water pulse. Yeah, that never happens, obviously. I hit myself with confusion, I die. So, noting that we still can't really kill Misty, I think our next best bet is to go down to Vermilion, where we can fight a lot of trainers, evolve Kingler as you just saw, and end up fighting the rival so we can get cut, all before we actually need to defeat Misty, which is kind of crazy amount of game that we can do before we need to actually go back and beat the second gym. That being said, the rival fight goes super smooth because we evolved into the Kingler, we now have Stomp, and once we get back to Misty right now, we one-shot the Staryu, and it looks like we can almost one-shot Starmie, so we end up just wiping the floor with Misty, collecting that second gym badge, and while we're over there, we can now go up and catch an Abra. We could have done it earlier, but I just didn't do it earlier. His name will be, I guess it's actually a her. Her name will be Kuntz, for the author something Kuntz. I'm not going to say it again. Don't quite like the name all that much, and it's a little contentious potentially. But that's going to be the name for our Kadabra. Trust me, this is a famous K author from Google. Alright, moving on to the electric lock puzzle. I show this because I want to show you how bad I am with my typical luck. Over the past 10-11 videos, I have gotten through this relatively quickly, maybe 2 times. You could argue, I think maybe you could argue 3, but in all reality, I feel like I just cannot ever get this to go. It's just that basket that won't sink. It's the blackjack hand that you can never win. It's the roll you never get when you're queuing up for ranked games. It's the nether fortress you can never find. It takes forever, but eventually you're gonna hit, you're gonna get it, you're gonna find it, and then you get to play. Alright, so now Kingler knows Mudshot, which makes Surge, I would say, relatively easy, but it is one of the easiest gym leaders that you could think of. Up there with Giovanni. Granted, Giovanni even is considered a gym leader. It's ridiculous. Moving on to Erica. So I still have Mudshot. The issue right now is that I get paralyzed. Victory Bell loves to paralyze on sight. We end up getting out of it because my Mudshots ended up slowing Vileplume, which means we go first even through paralysis, and we got the win. And then we can move on to the next rival battle. Next rival battle, again, has no issues. Krabby just stomps shit. He is a shit stomper, waffle stomper, crotch stomper. I don't know what you sick freaks are into, but if you put it in front of him, he's gonna stomp it. He's that guy. He's him. That's what he does. So we don't even need to talk about that anymore. We end up running down to Koga and fighting him next. Again, we have Mudshot. Mudshot is a physical move. He has high attack. My Kingler has the high attack. He's the big grub. So we just get through it. Now, here was a little bit of treachery. Not nearly as bad as Chansey because the encounter rates are much, much higher, but somebody who needs to be on our team is Kangaskhan. So I'm just going to give you a montage of all the times that I've found a Kangaskhan, how many balls I've thrown, and how many times they don't get in my balls. Just get in my balls. So right now, we are on our second encounter with Kangaskhan, and we are burning through balls at a rapid pace. I ended up putting a counter on the screen so we can actually follow along at the same time in real time with how many wasted balls we have. At the end of this encounter, we end up making it to 14, going on to another encounter. 15, then, what's after 15? 16, and then 17 balls to catch the Kangaskhan, which honestly, catch rate, encounter chance, it took a long time to get here because, I mean, you encounter like maybe a 5% chance in only specific areas of the Safari Zone, but really it wasn't all too bad. And I ended up naming our Kangaskhan Keller. Yes, Helen Keller, being blind and deaf, was an author. What have you done? Jumping over to try and catch a Coughing, they're in vast abundance in the Pokemon Mansion, but it didn't matter because they kept exploding all over the place and using self-destruct, so I kept either not being able to catch him or just dying before I could even get one. By the time we got one, we ended up naming him Kundera? I don't really know how to say that. Thankfully, I'm not going to be saying it much, because we're not going to be using Coughing. no surprise. Jumping to Blaine, we are actually watching him away right now. We're just going to use Surf 4 times in a row and defeat his entire team with our level 65 Kingler. After that, we can actually, because we got some dome earlier in the cave, run over to the scientist who's going to help us restore our fossil to life. So all we have to do is hand him over the fossil, run out, run back in, and then we can just collect our Kabuto. And this is a big one. I thought about whether or not we should put Kabuto in as the starter, but ultimately Krabby I think was a little bit better for this opportunity, because I never use Krabby. I think Kabuto is cool and all. I mean, Kabuto King, price of the value of the card went up exponentially. What a guy for doing that. Bringing Kabuto back to the spotlight via capitalism. That is so America. Shifting gears from catching Pokemon to advancing in the game. We go over to our next rival fight, and we do this thing. Instead of stomping, we use strength on most of these guys anymore. And instead of using strength, we were going to try and use Mud Shot on the Venusaur because it would have been super effective. Ultimately, Venusaur decided to use Razor Leaf, and our Mud Shot decided to miss. So, we end up dying with Kingler. And Keller was not able to take out the rest of the team. Same thing with Kuntz, not able to take out the rest of the team. Level 5 Kincaid, I don't even know this author, but that's what we're going with. Was not able to take it out. Kundera, the Coughing, level 30, pretty high level. Can we do it? No, not if Gyarados is going to use Dragon Rage, because honestly, there was no world we were ever going to beat that. So we actually just heal up, run back in, and this time, instead of using Mud Shot on Venusaur, we're going to try Guillotine instead. We learned Guillotine, and it's 30% accurate, but to get through this, a one-hit KO move is kind of something that we might be relying on in the Elite Four, to be entirely honest about this. We end up beating him because Venusaur was our only problem with that, and we can move on to Sabrina. So we're looking at around 10:33 in-game time for Sabrina, which is a really good time because the only things left for us besides the Elite Four are now Sabrina and Giovanni. And Giovanni, because we're a water type or because we're a Pokemon, has no chance against us. Again, yet to struggle with Giovanni. He's impressively bad. So we're going to end up using Surf 5 times, 1 for each time of his Pokemon. And we're going to end up being level 73 by the end of this, so we can get into our next rival fight and kind of suss out where we're going to be standing when we get into the Elite Four. So our strength no longer one-shots Pidgeot, which could be a potential red flag. We're pretty high level above Pidgeot, but not being able to one-shot there, kind of unfortunate. Kind of really unfortunate, actually. Luckily for us, Guillotine does hit Venusaur. We surf down the Rhyhorn, so not a problem there. Strength again does not one-shot Gyarados. Could be an issue in the long run. And then we just Mud-Shot Growlithe. Growlithe is kind of just a bad Pokemon all around, except for Intimidate. But Arcanine is so great, it makes sense to have him be so weak right now and then so strong during the champion fight. And Alakazam gets one-shot by Strength, obviously. Too frail. We make it through Victory Road pretty easily, and we end up making it to the Elite Four at approximately 11:46 in-game time. So if we get a really, really good run here, we have a chance to really push a boundary on the best final time here. So we two-shot Dugong with our Strength. Closer likes to protect, so we hit him with one Surf, then he protects, protect fails, and we end up finishing him off with the next Surf. Slowbro, kind of worried about. Okay, Strength gets us at a really good range. Plus Hail Chip, so we're in even better range. He did yawn, so we have to switch out to Kincaid, aka level 5 Kabuto, and then we switch back in the Kingler so he doesn't fall asleep. We Strength off the Slowbro to kill him, Strength the Jinx because she's too frail, and then we actually just go for the Guillotine on Lapras. I was too concerned that Lapras is going to survive, confuse, paralyze, or have something else happen that we were not going to end up winning that fight. Jumping over to Bruno, we're now level 78 after killing that Onix with Surf. Going into Hitmonchan, we don't get the one-shot with Strength. Bruno's obviously going to full restore here, and then we do get the one-shot with Strength, mainly because of that crit right now, I think. The Hitmonlee actually does get one-shot. Machamp gets 2-shot with the Citrus Berry recovery, so that's a great place to be. We use Ice Beam so that we can also quad effect, just to switch it up from Surf this time on the second Onix. Feeling hot right now, running into Agatha. Gengar, we go with Surf to start. 2-shot with Surf, not a problem. Golbat comes in, we almost 1-shot with the Ice Beam again. So we're confused, but they're going to full restore, so we actually end up switching out. We're going to try and get off a confusion with Kadabra, but it didn't end up working. It's fine. The Golbat eventually goes down to an Ice Beam. Actually, it was a 1-shot. It was just happened that we ended up on the lower end of the range. Arbok, we use Strength. It ends up taking a 2-shot. Not a problem. The Ace Gengar could be an issue. We Surf the Ace Gengar, but we get slept. He has Citrus Berry recovery, but if we wake up, we can still 2-shot Surf, and then Sludge Bombs start rolling in, and we are looking for any time to wake up now, even with the Nightmare. Okay, finally we wake up, get the Surf, and jeez, we cannot 1-shot Haunter with Surf. Come on, man. We can't fake it out. We gotta bite. I'm assuming he's gonna try and Hypnosis us. He goes Curse. That's so annoying. Why would you do that? Alright, we might be able to take him down as long as he doesn't use Dream Eater, so we just got to keep switching out, and hopefully we can get something going here. I don't think switching out Kakuna is going to be worth it, but he ends up gaining a decent amount of HP for a single Kakuna for Dream Eater. Didn't think that was a thing. He ends up sleeping and Dream Eatering and healing all the way back up on our Coughing, and then ends up killing our Kingler, and our sleeping Kangaskhan Helen Keller just crumbles. So we don't even waste any time. We just heal up and get right back in there. See, I say this not because I think it was a fluke that we lost. Like, we lost against Agatha pretty fair and square. But that being said, if we catch a better range or don't get put to sleep, or, you know, like, there's a few things that we could do with Agatha because she is quite the lottery here that we can just win. Like, if we 1-shot the Haunter, we actually just win that fight, even through 4 turns of sleep with Kingler and a Nightmare. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to just run it back in really fast and try it again. I'm going to say that I didn't talk about Lorelei through the entirety of her fight because it was actually very easy. We used the same exact strategy, our ranges just got better and stronger, so there was nothing really to talk about there. As far as Bruno, again, we get a little stronger. Hitmonchan still wasn't a 1-shot, still surprising there to me, but everything else just worked out exactly as we expected in the first place. And again, we just do a little bit better. We're a slightly higher level this time. As we go into Agatha, this is the one that obviously we lost to last time and the thing that we want to really focus on. So our strategy is actually going to be relatively similar, although the first Gengar does confuse me, so we are going to swap out to try and break that confusion and hopefully just switch right back in and we get the kill. Not a problem. Actually, something interesting is Kabuto goes from level 5 to level 10 after getting half the XP from the first Gengar. Interesting. Moving on to Golbat. Golbat was 1-shot by an Ice Beam. Arbok was essentially 1-shot with a crit, but we used Strength to get him down, then they full restored back first. The second Gengar doesn't end up putting us to sleep, and we get the 2-shot. Then we move on to the Haunter, who killed us last time, and we 1-shot him as well. Running over to Lance, we have Ice Beam for this occasion. And for Gyarados, I think we're just going to try and maybe Guillotine, maybe Strength. I think we just Guillotine here, just not even waste Strengths. We end up getting it on the second Guillotine, which is great. And Kingler sitting up here at level 80. I think we're just going to go 1 Ice Beam, 2 Ice Beams, 3 Ice Beams, and Dragonite lives that? Quad Effective lives that? That's kind of crazy. Ends up getting 4 Ice Beams because Dragonite gets 1-shot afterwards, and Aerodactyl also lives? That's quite effective. Like, what are we talking about here? Wow, I was not expecting both Dragonite to live at first and then Aerodactyl to live at second. Nonetheless, we go on to the champ, and I didn't use an Ether to restore anything. I just wanted to see how we were going to do here, because I think we might be able to get it done. We ended up using both of our last 2 Ice Beams on Pidgeot, and we didn't kill him initially, but we do end up killing him after with Surf. We miss our Guillotines, and we get Solar Beam by Venusaur. And it looks like Solar Beam might be the only thing Venusaur knows as an attacking move. Otherwise, why would you use it against Kangaskhan and Kadabra and most likely everybody else in the entire group. So pretty strange that Solar Beam would be the only attack move that it's opting to use right now, but hey, do whatever you want. So we're gonna take this really slow, painful death of 2-turn Solar Beams until we lose. And there we go. Alright, so I think if we hit our Guillotine, or get within the right range of strength, because now we know that Venusaur is going to be using Solar Beam, I think we got a real shot at just doing it and finishing the entire thing. So again, we're not even going to worry about doing anything else. I think we just Ether right after Lance and go in. No switch up on the strat. As you can see, the strat being consistent for Lorelei is not a problem. We're able to quickly dispose of her team, mostly because it's one-shots, perfect ranges, or there's no threat from the Pokemon. Ooh, okay, until Lapras confuses us. Okay, so we switch in Kafka, or the Kakuna, and then we end up switching back in our Kingler. We're missing a lot of guillotines. We missed 4 guillotines. Okay, we finally hit a guillotine. Jeez, we took a lot of damage there for, like, no reason. But our luck has been pretty good with guillotines, so it's about time that we got caught up with that, to be entirely honest, because I have been riding that guillotine high, taking what I can get and running with it. But hopefully, you know, we got all the bad ones out. This, look, gambler through and through. We're due now. We're due. We have 2 shots to guillotine the Venusaur at the end of the game. We're due. So we're definitely gonna hit it going in. Bruno, not a problem. Just get him out of my Elite Four. I'm tired of him. Agatha, also not really a problem anymore. I mean, we get the ranges even better, and as long as we don't get slept, we really are in 0 danger. So Arbok is going to be a 2-shot with Strength. The Ace Gengar is going to be a crit 1-shot, and Haunter is actually 1-shot with Surf as well. Moving on to Lance, we actually just end up strengthening Gyarados twice, and then we just start pumping the Ice Beams, of course, because, I mean, quad effective to 2 of them, and then we go to our Dragonairs, and I hate using Dragonairs now after the D video. Oh my god, it's bad. They are nothing to this big Moana head-ass 8-foot crab. Ooh. But we end up being able to withstand the Hyper Beam from Aerodactyl pretty easily. Then we move on to the Champ. So we've had literally no struggles up to this point. We do Ether up Strength and Guillotine. We end up going Ice Beam, obviously, for the Pidgeot. Doesn't kill still. We hit a Freeze, instantly thaws. They full restore. We go back to Ice Beam, and we finish off with Surf. Fine, perfectly fine. So we go for the Guillotine, misses, and he takes Inside Light, and we hit the Guillotine. Let's go. Okay. I think we're in the clear, but let's Strength Alakazam. That's obviously a 1-shot. Surf Rhydon, obviously a 1-shot. Gyarados, pretty strong. We use Strength, gets halfway. Dragon Rage doesn't affect us, and then we finish him off. Arcanine, I thought we could have used Surf or Strength. It was weird that Surf was going to put us in a bad range where they could have continuously healed, whereas Strength could have put us in a good range. So I went with Strength, and it actually looked like it paid off. I'm not sure if Surf would have put us in a bad range, but I think it's better safe than sorry. In this case, at least it was. And we ended up with a 1258 for the letter K. And that is the best run to date. This was a great run. Krabby was a little slow at the beginning, kind of not fun at all, to be entirely honest, through the Viridian Forest, but there was always a way out for every other gym where we could continuously grow. And we never had a real stopping point, I don't think. There was never really a true wall for us, which was a great feeling. And we leveled so fast. And on top of that, we even got a 1-hit KO move, which at 30% accuracy kind of makes sense, but I think we hit it the majority of the time. And if not the majority, like at least give me 50-50 on that move. So, I mean, it felt great. We kind of felt unstoppable. And as you can see, the graph is now showing K is in the dark red with the X. We were almost, I don't know, badge 2 we were doing really bad, to be entirely honest. We were middle of the pack at best. And then as we progressed, we got almost flat to badge 3. Then we went up incrementally, but we were always like staying ahead of the curve for every single point, up to badge 7-8, where we level off with both I and F. And then K, The biggest thing was that Elite Four run. The Elite Four runs have stopped I, K, F, C, B. Like, all of them have been nowhere near as good as this, especially not as fast. So, big shout out to K, big shout out to Kingler. Huge come up by the Krub. The only thing left to do now is just to rank this. I think we all know where this is gonna go. It can't really go anywhere else. It performed so much better than H. It would be a crime to not put it above H and S tier. It was a great run, felt like I was in a flow state, and honestly, that's all I got for this video. Alright guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and this is Zeej signing off. See ya.